let's move it to Atlanta. Baby. The ATL. All right, biggest news of the season is the departure of Julio. It hurts my soul that they're gone, but we'll talk about wide receivers in a second. Let's talk about Matt Ryan, Matty Ice. Does Matty Ice take a nosedive?
I don't think so. He's always been a reliable fantasy quarterback, and he always gets you good points every week. And he's still got weapons. He's got Ridley. Gage is okay last year. Mm-hmm. And then adding Kyle Pitts. It's not a replacement for Julio Jones, but it definitely helps.
No. And, he's been consistently inconsistent. Yeah. You'd have a season where he has these very streaky games, and then you'd have a season where he's lights out, 300 yards a game, 2 or 3 touchdowns a game. And he'd have these streaks where he performs admirably. Right now, his ADP is 160, so he's one of these late-round quarterbacks that, yes, his value dropped some because of Julio leaving. And like you said, there's no real replacement for Julio. Ridley is going to do his best to replace what will be lost with Julio. But, Matt Ryan's still a guy I would probably look at as a late-round quarterback. Especially if I'm not taking any of these top guys who are dual threats, I'd definitely take a look at Matt Ryan later on. Let's talk running backs, though. Okay. So last season, like I mentioned, I ended up making a trade for Todd Gurley, who was the Falcons running back, who had a streak about 4 or 5 games of great fantasy production, but absolutely atrocious football production. He had like a measly 2 yards a carry, and it was god-awful. Gurley's out, which is insane to think that. Just a few years ago, he was an MVP consideration.
Yep, the top fantasy running back. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It's insane to think about that. But that's fantasy football for you. So bring in Mike Davis from Carolina. And do we think Mike Davis is one of these very good values?
Yeah, definitely. That's what, 103.2, like the 8th round, maybe?
8th or 9th round, yeah.
Yeah, and, Atlanta, their starting running back usually is fantasy productive, and Mike Davis proved he can get it done with Carolina, and I think the Falcons are a little bit better of an offense, so I think this is a good position for Mike Davis.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I think with Julio leaving, that kind of opens the door for obviously wide receivers and tight ends to make a push, but especially with Arthur Smith coming in as the new head coach, who brings an offensive philosophy that, look, Mike Davis. So Arthur Smith, if anyone didn't know, he came from Tennessee. He was the offensive coordinator there and had one of the most efficient and productive offenses last season. Mike Davis is not Derrick Henry. Don't get us wrong. Absolutely not. No one is. But Mike Davis will have a role in this offense. And the thing is, Atlanta is a pass-heavy offense. Mike Davis has a profile to catch the ball. That's terrific, especially for PPR leagues. It's your starting running back can do work in the passing game. Julio's vacating some targets. I think Mike Davis is an absolute steal. Now.
And what would he be? Your RB3 probably? If you're drafting him that late?
Yeah, he could be RB4, honestly. Yeah. Mike Davis is an absolute value. Are you looking at Ito? He's undrafted.
No.
You're not handcuffing him.
No.
I'm not. Let's go to wide receivers. I think the biggest beneficiary of the Julio Jones trade to Tennessee is probably Calvin Ridley right here. He should see a massive upswing in targets. Calvin Ridley right now, is he worth he's going to be a wide receiver 1. Would you be comfortable taking him as your wide receiver 1?
Yes, absolutely. I think he's the lock-in for a top 5 receiver this year for fantasy football.
What do you think his ceiling is?
The best, the number 1 wide receiver.
It's tough. I really want to say I think he's the one, but you still have Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs. He's he's right behind them, honestly. If you think about tier-based drafting, he is the tier right below those three, and could be at the top of that tier.
I think I'm taking Adams. Ridley might be my second favorite wide receiver.
Really? Over Hill?
Yeah, Hill's pretty inconsistent. He just has those big boom games, and his totals at the end of the season work out. I think he loses you just as many games as he wins for you.
Ooh, that's bold take, Cotton. Man.
I think Ridley's going to eat this year. I really do.
There's no way he doesn't. He was on trajectory to explode. He exploded pretty much last year, and that was with Julio missing some time. Ridley has to explode. So we talked about Ridley. Let's talk a little bit about Russell Gage. Now, with Ridley taking on a bigger role, does that open the door for Russell Gage to step up? Or is it Olamide Zaccheaus to step up as the wide receiver 2 in Atlanta? Who do we think?
I would lean Gage just because he was semi-reliable last year. I don't love either of these guys, so
yeah,
I'm probably avoiding them.
I don't think I'd avoid necessarily because that offense is productive. But right now, Russell Gage's ADP is 179.5, so very end of your drafts.
Yeah.
And Olamide Zaccheaus is undrafted, so he's going to be a waiver pickup for you. Watch the first couple of weeks, see who gets the targets in this offense outside of Ridley. But both of them could end up being, nice sleeper plays throughout the duration of the season and probably pretty good DFS plays.
Yeah.
Definitely. Let's talk tight end. The highest drafted tight end in NFL history, Kyle Pitts from Florida, comes into Atlanta, here to soak up some of the vacated Julio targets. What do we think of Kyle Pitts? Is he going to be a tight end 1?
Yes, I absolutely love Kyle Pitts. He's basically a wide receiver playing tight end. If you watch him play at Florida at all, there is no doubt in your mind that this guy is going to be a tremendous NFL tight end.
Yes, his profile is like Jimmy Graham meets Tony Gonzalez meets Darren Waller. He's an absolute animal, and he's going to feast in this. He has to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, look at Arthur Smith. He built an offense around his best player in Derrick Henry, right?
Yeah.
If you look at this offense, who do you think the best player on this team is?
Right now, I would say Ridley, but in a couple years, I think you're going Pitts.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Ridley's the best player right now, but Dynasty, both of them are terrific. Pitts is going. It's going to be interesting to see how they use Kyle Pitts. If they use him out wide as possibly maybe like a Y or a Z receiver, and throw Ridley in the slot just to mess with people because Pitts' route tree is pretty dynamic. Right now, Pitts his ADP is 89.2. So he is a mid-round tight end, and people are banking on him becoming a tight end 1. You said it, and I'm going to agree with you. I think he's definitely a tight end 1 this season.
I mean, that's the 7th round in 12-man leagues, so I think that's a good price because I don't see a world where he's not a top 5 tight end in fantasy.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'd go top 5. I don't know. Because, Kelsey, Waller, and presumably Kittle to come back. That's 3.
Then
you've got Mark Andrews, Robert Tonyan,
I think I'll take Pitts over Hawkinson and Tonyan.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Gesicki, Noah Fant.
Pitts. Fant's interesting, though.
Fant is interesting, but it all depends upon the quarterback.
Yeah.
I would take obviously the first 3, and I think I'd go Andrews and Hawkinson before Pitts, only because of the volume that Hawkinson should receive in Detroit. But we'll talk about Detroit later on. Is Hayden Hurst worth a pick right now?
He had a pretty good year last year, but I don't know. I don't think there's really room for him to succeed in this offense.
Yeah, you got to watch the first couple of weeks and see how many 2 tight end sets they use, which Arthur Smith was a big fan of in Tennessee. So maybe there's room for Hurst to be a tight end streamer. If you've got somebody, you got like maybe Jonnu or Hunter Henry, one of the Patriots tight ends, maybe Jimmy Graham, or Cole Kmet, one of the Chicago tight ends, and they're not producing, maybe take a look and see if Atlanta's using the 2 tight end sets. Hurst may have some value as a waiver pickup.
Yeah.
But that's about it. You are not picking up their defense. If you pick up their defense,
first round pick, first overall,
right after McCaffrey, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Don't take Atlanta's defense. Play everybody against Atlanta's defense.